So thank you all for inviting me for being here. I want to let you know up front, I've got a little bit of a predicament. Number one, y'all can probably hear it in my voice. My vocal cords were shot after campaigning and all the stuff we do. So on the one hand, I really should be resting my voice. On the other hand, I got this beautiful open mic right here. I've got a very, very partisan, conservative, Republican audience. And I'm also a pretty opinionated guy. So I tell you what, I'll talk until my vocal cords give out, and then we'll call it a night. So gotta be honest with you. When I told my beautiful wife, Sophie, that we were coming to this event, Sophie was cool with that. Then I told her I was speaking. And then Sophie asked, she knew Christian Ziegler was going to be here. She knew Byron Donalds was going to be here. So Sophie said, what on earth are people going to want to hear from you? Well, let me tell you, I came up with a little something. Now, Congressman, you may not know this about me. When I ran for office, so I'm a doctor, my catchphrase was, liberty is in critical condition. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to bring you a message from Tallahassee, and that message is, freedom is alive and kicking in the free state of Florida. And Congressman, freedom is the entire reason I even ran for office. I never ran for any public office before, but it was all about freedom. The freedoms that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. The freedoms that are God-given freedoms that the godless heathens of the other party are trying to undermine. We're talking First Amendment rights. We're talking your Second Amendment rights. We're talking freedom from government interference in your daily lives. And most importantly, what got me into this fight, we're talking about freedom from the tyranny of lockdowns. So for those of you out in the audience who don't know my story, my eyes were opened back in 2020. As a doctor during the COVID era, I found that my comments on social media were being censored. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all had the same thing happen. If you would ever mention COVID in a post, if you would ever mention vaccine, if you would ever mention the shot, you'd get that little black box warning, and then you'd find out that none of your friends ever even saw that post. We all try little tricks. For me, I would spell shot with a $sign, or I'd spell vax, V-A-X-X, Or one time I tried inoculation, thinking I was pretty smart, and every one of those got censored. Basically, if you didn't praise Lord Fauci, you were censored. As if that weren't bad enough, y'all know the story. I was reported to my American Board of Family Medicine over my Facebook post for what they accused me of being, quote unquote, denigrating their vaccine efforts. So you can imagine the personal pleasure it brought me to resurrect Senator Doug Bronson's physician freedom of speech bill from last year. I was able to dust that bill off, and Congressman, we rammed that bill down the woke mob's throat. Not only did our bill pass, hey, we even stuck on some medical conscience provisions too. Now people ask me, what does medical conscience mean? Well, listen, I can sum it up for you real fast. It means if I'm a doctor and someone's asking me to do something I shouldn't be doing, we are not going to let the radicals hold a gun to your head and force you to do it. Michelle was talking about some legislation. There's one important bill of mine that unfortunately got left on the table that we're going to have to come back for next year. I want to take just a minute to discuss that bill with you. To me, that was the most important bill next to the physician freedom of speech bill. This bill goes right to the heart of freedom. I worked with Senator Clay Yarborough on another bill that basically would have made it harder if not virtually impossible, for the state to ever declare a prolonged public health emergency. And my version of the bill actually went further. My bill specified that lockdowns would be prohibited. Well, here's where I need your help, because Clay's bill was never heard. My own bill got one hearing in the House. So what we need next session, I want everybody's help, everyone who's here today. Next session, I need you to call every legislator in Tallahassee. I need you to tell them, get behind Rudman's bill. We are never going back to lockdowns, never again. And Michelle, before I wrap up and take my seat, I want to share a perspective, a freshman's perspective of maybe some things I learned in Tallahassee. You can grade me later, you can tell me if I got it right or got it wrong, but this is kind of my perspective as a freshman coming into it, and lessons that I learned. There were three big lessons that I learned, and who knows, maybe y'all need to hear them too. Maybe y'all can learn a little something from my experience. Lesson number one, as Republicans, we should always reject false premises. And you know what I'm talking about. You're talking about the crooked media. You're talking about the liberal media. I'll give you a good example. Not 5 minutes after the greatest governor on the face of the earth, Ron DeSantis, signed my medical freedom bill, I had a reporter from the Pensacola News Journal come up to me and say, how do you feel about your bill since it promotes discrimination? And of course, you'll be glad to know, I looked and I said, well, you just proved that you're illiterate right there, because it says in the bill, I'm the one that put the language in the bill that says you cannot discriminate. So, it's important when the media comes to us and they give you these false choices, it's important that we call them out on those false premises and say, first of all, that's a lie. And you answer the real question. You don't answer the question they give you. Issue number two. Advice number two. I found, Michelle, when I was talking on the floor of the House in debate, I would make every debate personal. Now, I don't mean insults. I don't mean, take a grudge home and stew on it. I mean, if you've got a story to tell that story. I'll give you a good example. We had a very, very strong immigration reform bill that passed, and I was honored to stand up in support of that on the House floor. And you know what? The other side, they were telling this sob story. They were all in tears on the back row talking about how cruel it was to ship illegal immigrants to the horrible destination of Martha's Vineyard. And so, while they have their Kleenexes out and they're crying and let's feel so sorry for the immigrants. Well, I stood up in debate and I gave them a story that I felt deserved some tears. I said, well, if you want to be sorry for immigrants, there's one right there, my wife Sophie, who over 30 years ago left everything she knew, came to this country with the shirt on her back and not a thing else. She went through our immigration process the correct way, the legal way. So Democrats, if you want to have sympathy for somebody, there she is right there. So make the debate personal. Congressman, I know you're going to be with me on item number 3. my third thing, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Never, ever surrender. Never, ever concede ground to the other party. I want to give you 2 quick examples of what I'm talking about. Representative Sullivan, she mentioned the heartbeat bill. And boy, the tissues were out that day too, because they're talking about how we hate women, how all these poor women, what are they going to do? I guess they're going to have these babies. Isn't that sad? Well, when it was my turn to speak, I told them about how it's my job as a physician to tell women the results of their pregnancy test. And every once in a while, you'd get that young lady who was maybe unmarried, or maybe I even had to tell a lady who was 46 years old she was pregnant. So every once in a while, you'll get that lady who does have that look of shock in her eye. I would normally tell them to go home. Look, don't make any quick decisions. Go home. Let's talk about it. Come back tomorrow. You'll be glad to know that 100% of my pregnant ladies in my practice chose life. And that's the story you tell. You don't concede ground to the Democrats. When they want to cry, you give them something to cry about. I told them about those ladies. I told them about those ladies who brought their children back to me for the 2-month well check, for the 4-month well check, for the 6-month well check. And they would bring their kids to me, the product of a pregnancy that they thought about terminating. And we would lock eyes. And we would remember how close the mother came to terminating that pregnancy. And they would cry on those visits because they would praise God that they chose life, because that was the best decision they ever made in their life. One more example, and I know this is real controversial. It was controversial when I chose to do it on the House floor. It's no less controversial now. I was proud to co-sponsor a bill in the House that was looking to restore gun rights to our 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. It's the right thing to do. Now, y'all remember that was part of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act. So we knew darn well that when that bill hit the House floor, we knew the tissues were going to be out again on the back row, and sure enough, they were. All the different, you could predict it, right? We knew the whole debate was going to be Parkland, Parkland, Parkland. Do not concede that territory. Do not concede that ground to the Democrats, because they chose to cry over Parkland, saying, we need this law. We got to strip people of their freedoms. They all mentioned Parkland, Parkland, Parkland. Well, there was one other legislator that day that mentioned Parkland from the House floor, and you're looking at it. I mentioned Parkland because I said, you look at that incident, and you said that was a reason to strip law-abiding citizens of their gun rights. We cry for the victims of Parkland, but let's talk about the heroes of Parkland. Do y'all know there was a 15-year-old kid who, while they're getting shot through the classroom door, there was a 15-year-old kid who held a classroom door shut so that horrible, horrible killer could not get in the classroom and kill other children. That young man, they refer to him as the hero of Parkland. And do you know how we rewarded the hero of Parkland? By stripping him of his gun rights. That young man is now 20 years old, and he has to wait another year just to purchase a skeet gun. And so I said that from the House floor. And let me tell you, it wasn't a comfortable position to be in, because one of our colleagues on the back row, a Democrat, she was the mayor of Parkland. She didn't take kindly to a Republican mentioning Parkland, but I'm telling you, don't concede that territory. They are not the only people that can cloak themselves and say, we care about children, we care about mothers, we care about... Doggone it, we care about children. We care about families. We care about mothers. We care about America. Michelle, I'm sorry. All I know are campaign speeches. That's just all I've got. I'm sorry. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up. In closing, I just want to let y'all know, when I got to Tallahassee, so I'm a freshman legislator. When you get to Tallahassee and you go to committee weeks, and you start introducing yourself, they give you 5 seconds. Tell everybody about where you're from. I would always remind everyone, well, I'm from Santa Rosa County, which is Florida's best kept secret. Well, let me tell you, with your support and with the message that you sent me to deliver in Tallahassee, let me assure you, Florida's 3rd District is not a secret anymore. They know darn well who you guys are because you sent me there. And I am honored to stand with the best governor in America, Ron DeSantis, and I am proud to represent the good people of Santa Rosa County. We are no longer Florida's best kept secret. Our motto now is, we are the place where the roots of liberty run